Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology. What's that? That's the study of books and reading and notebooks and writing mixed with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. Here, you'll find episodes exploring the reading and writing life and how they can make our actual lives better. You'll get book recommendations and notebooking prompts around particular themes, and you'll even hear from authors and special guests who can fuel our reading and writing hearts and help us take inspired action in our own daily practices. So, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie, your podcast host and friendly bookologist, here with a special guest to explore one of our favorite topics. Now, I know from listening at the analytics and looking at the metrics for the podcast that some of your favorite episodes are around notebooking and journaling, and they're my favorite too. Rebecca Rankin is here to help us explore this and much more. She loves to promote a sustainable, holistic, and cyclical lifestyle to balance our mood, boost our energy, beat overwhelm, and feel good in our body while living with intention. I mean, I don't have to say anything more after that episode. Everyone wants to listen to that. You say all of that, and then you add the words journaling and notebooking, and I know my audience is completely hooked. So we're just going to jump right in. Rebecca, welcome to the Get Literate podcast. I'm so glad you're here and I cannot wait to talk all the things with you today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Yeah, we had such a good time chatting on your podcast not too long ago, Women's Moon Wisdom. We talked about the power of restorative reading and writing, and I think we could have kept chatting for a long, long time. So this is kind of like an overdue extension of that conversation, and I'm really excited to go deeper into something we both love. Journaling is the term you tend to use. I tend to use the word notebooking. They're very, very similar, um, but explore it from a different angle than we ever have on the podcast today. But before we jump in, before I even let you introduce yourself, before I let you speak about any of your work, I want to ask you to do something that was incredibly powerful for me, and that is your opening meditation. So when I was on your podcast, and I know this is a regular practice for you, you opened with this beautiful meditation that just put us in the present moment and it grounded us. And it just felt like such a natural way to open that I thought, if I have you here, I'm going to ask you to do that for me and for the listeners. And you so graciously agreed. So before we do anything else, will you lead us in that to get us in the right headspace for this today?
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. It's something that I do before I hit record with all of my guests on my podcast. And so it feels really nourishing to offer it now to your community as well. So
Wonderful.
I invite you all to just take a moment to let yourself arrive wherever you are. And if you're able to close your eyes and just feel the points of contact of your body touching the earth. And shift your awareness from the chatter of the mind, from the headspace. And just see if you can drop your awareness down into your heart space, the area of your body where your heart is. Noticing that area as you breathe. And as you draw your awareness down to your feet, feel that connection to the earth. perhaps even just visualizing roots growing down. Maybe that looks like roots, perhaps cords of light, and feel that connection to the earth with so much gratitude. And allow that reciprocal energy, feel the energy from the earth coming up through you, maybe even allowing it to kind of swirl throughout the body. And simultaneously, I invite you to the crown of your head. Visualizing that area as your connection to your higher self, to your connection to all that is. And perhaps even just visualizing that as a stream of white golden light that flows down through your crown, throughout your body, swirling around the heart. And as you bring your awareness back to the heart space, feel your breath from that area. Feel with each inhale the expansiveness of your breath. And feel with each exhale your ability to bring your awareness within. And from this space, taking some clearing breaths together. With your awareness at the heart space, taking a breath in and feel that expansiveness, filling your lungs all the way to the top, pausing in that fullness of your breath. And part your lips as you exhale. Feel yourself letting go of whatever it is that you left unfinished to tune in here. Just let that go for now. Taking another breath in, filling the lungs and pausing in that fullness at the top. And as you exhale, letting go of whatever it is that's on the to-do list for the day ahead, letting that go. Taking another breath in, pausing in the fullness. And as you exhale, letting go of whatever it is that you have been monitoring in the back of your mind. Even if you're excited about it, especially if you're anxious about it, let it go. And know that letting go is getting rid of. Letting go just means let it be. And offer up those things that you're letting be, just offer them to your higher self so they're in good hands. And feel that while they're there, feel that there's no need to drag them into our time together, and there's no need to feel them pull you away from this time here. And then feel that each inhale you take is a way to reclaim the parts of you that you left scattered. And each exhale is your ability to arrive whole. Taking just another breath here, letting it go. And as you feel grounded, as you feel present, then opening your eyes.
I could just listen to you forever. You clearly have a gift to bring people in and to calm people. You have a gift to bring me in and to calm me down. And I feel like what you just did there was such a perfect opening for our conversation around journaling, around notebooking, because how you asked us to just kind of breathe into that and leave the to-do list or leave the thing, the one that got me was that thing that's always playing in the loop in the back of your mind. That's what I feel like my notebook gives me a chance to do. So perfect opening meditation for this episode. I am not surprised, Rebecca, and that was beautiful. And I
Mm.
hope if listeners were driving or if they were walking their dog or they were doing something where they couldn't really fully embrace that meditation, that you rewind it and you go back later when you have those couple of minutes. There's just nothing like that. Just taking a couple of minutes of someone, I find someone else walking me through this kind of of meditation. It's just such a perfect introduction to you and the work that you do. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So now I'll let you talk about you. So listeners now have an idea, I think, of who you are and what you are about simply by listening to that meditation and hopefully really engaging in it. But I would love for you to have a longer chance to tell the world a little bit about you and what you do beyond that beautiful mic drop introduction of your work that I gave.
Yeah, well, thank you for that introduction. And I have been in the wellness healing space um, for nearly 20 years at this point. And as an entrepreneur in this area, I've been a yoga teacher since 2006, a ERYT 500, YACEP, all these acronyms, all these
All the
letters that just
alphabet.
mean I've been teaching all the alphabet things that mean I've just been doing this for a long time as a full-time gig. And I'm a Reiki master, sound healing ceremonialist, and a women's holistic wellness coach specializing in cyclical living. So I have a podcast and coaching program, and all of it is geared around helping us come back home to ourselves, helping women create, like you said in the beginning, this sustainable, holistic lifestyles to live in rhythm with our cyclical nature so that we can feel good in our body, so we can feel good in our skin, especially, throughout the years, the different phases of our life, the different seasons of our life. And a lot of that is through the lens of what I call cyclical, or what's known as cyclical living. And cyclical living means aligning your daily activities. So let's say work, your nutrition, how you care for yourself, mindset, even social engagements with the natural cycles. So this could be like aligning to the seasons, could be aligning to the lunar phases, could be if you're a woman, could be aligning with your menstrual cycle, so that it gives you the space to improve your health, your physical, your mental health, to give you these pause points to come back home to yourself, to realign to who you are in this moment. Because we all know, especially for those of us who are women, like our energy ebbs and flows, and we've, in a way, been conditioned to feel like we need to be productive every single day, that we need to be able to check off all the things on our to-do list. And if we need to feel the same every day and have that same level of productivity, and when we don't, we blame ourselves, right? That's when the inner critic comes online. And that can be really disruptive in our lives, in our quality of life. And so when we can recognize our own cyclical nature, then we can give ourselves a little bit better grace, give ourselves more grace. And I love to kind of transpose the cyclical nature of nature, like outside. You in nature, there's always cues to help us live more mindfully. Always. And the phrase "as above, so below," right? As without, so within. If we look outside right now at the time of this recording, it's mid-November. I live in northern Michigan, so it's gray, it's rainy, the leaves are falling off the trees. It's a time that reminds us, like, this is the dark half of the year as well. So this is a reminder to have this pause point of like evaluation of maybe turning inward a little bit, maybe starting to feel the slowness coming on of this season, the darkness, and being okay with that, knowing that we don't always have to show up to life being like the life of the party and to like do all the things and try to be perpetually productive. There's not fruit on the trees year round. The flowers are not blooming year round.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really help women to kind of step into that. And honestly, it's almost like this it's remembering aspect, because as soon as you see that cyclical nature in your life, you are like, oh yeah, I do feel that. Oh yeah, one week I am more energetic and the next week I'm not. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you said, and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, and this is always a work in progress, I think as everybody always is, but when I think about, I'm in my mid 40s, right? And I look back and I feel like for a long time in the beginning of my 40s, I was chasing backwards. I want to feel like I did. I want to be as productive as I did. I want to fit into that outfit like I did. I don't want those high heels to hurt like they do. And this was this constant, my growth was really chasing who I was before. And it does not feel good. It did not feel good. And it wasn't until I dove in more into exactly what you're saying. How does nature work? What can I learn about changing seasons? What can I learn about my changing self and be okay with it? And it really wasn't until I grasped the idea that you said, which is everything is cyclical and we are not meant to be the same. We are meant to change. That was the thing that allowed me to say, okay, I don't have to chase the so-called old me, which was actually the young me, but but it's actually the journey of whatever this new version looks like, and I get to be okay with that. That has been like a repeating mantra, like it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I love how you have opened up with that right away because I struggled with that. And your view and what you help women do is you just give us permission to be in this phase, this stage, this cycle, and it's all good.
Yes. It's just it's coming back home to yourself.
Yeah.
And there's the seasons of life where we're giving, where we're tending, whether it's to family or careers, it's all this extraction.
Yeah.
And can we also, we need cycles to bring us into balance. So for as much as we give, can we also give back to ourselves?
Yeah.
And that's kind of this reminder too of, yes, maybe the season of life that you're in is one that you're tending to young children or tending to a demanding career. Well, how can you find balance? Like, how can you do something that also gives back to yourself so that you aren't so depleted and
Yeah.
showing up to life like as a just a skeleton of the person that you once were.
Yeah. So I live in upstate New York, and like you, the weather's changing, things are changing. And one of my most favorite times is fall in New York because the leaves are just gorgeous. They are red and orange and burnt orange and maroon, yellow. They're gorgeous. And I love just looking at it and taking it in. But it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I figured out, or I found out, or I stumbled on this little idea that this beauty that I was looking at and so admiring and looking forward to was actually the tree killing all of its leaves to survive the winter and be able to rest and conserve and come back in the next season strong. And I remember just being so shocked of this beauty was actually the tree letting go of what it had. And it was one of those moments where it was like, boom, okay, I got it. I got it.
Yes. Yes. And think of it this way, like the leaves on the tree, they die, right? They fall to the ground, but that death, that whatever the tree is letting go of, and this can be, a metaphor for
Right?
life, is literally the fertilizer that strengthens the tree. Like the things that we shed, the things that we have been dead for a long time that we've been gripping a hold of,
Yeah.
we finally let go of, will only nourish you to be stronger in the next season,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Yes.
okay, yes, please.
Yes, that's exactly it. You're like, why haven't I realized this or been thinking this way my entire life? So we share a love of journaling, a love of notebooking, and we talked a little bit about it on your podcast. I'm going to put the link to our episode in my show notes so that listeners can get a little bit more of what we talked about there. But I would love for you to talk about your journey to journaling and the role that it's played in your life.
Yeah. So Notebooking, journaling, diarying. Is
Yes.
that a word? So honestly, I have been a lifelong notebooker, journaler. I recall when I was young, I don't know, probably eight, maybe seven, eight, I got my first diary. And I have two brothers, an older brother and a twin brother. And like my diary, I used to call it a diary at the time, was my safe space. And it was where I could just pour everything out. And, honestly, the other day I found my very first diary. It was so sweet,
Oh,
so sweet, so sweet. And I had it was like little teddy bears on the outside, and he was just looking through it, and I was just basically recalling things from my day. Like each day I would say, "Dear diary." It was so sweet.
yep.
And write about the day the things happened, but clearly through the tone of like, "Can you believe this happened? My brothers did this," or for all the book lovers, all of us are book lovers here. I My brothers would tease me because I devoured books. So much so that I created my own little library in my room. And on my father's computer, this is like a love for technology here at a young age. I made like my own card catalog, and I like typed out all the names, and I would play library by myself with my stuffed animals. Like, I'm a book nerd. I love this. And one day my older brother, let's be real here, my older brother came in, and I had like
Oh, no.
labeled all the spines on the books, and my older brother came in and scribbled them out.
Oh,
And
no.
I was devastated. So in my journal, I'm just like writing just furiously about like, oh, can you believe this happened? And so like this is, so it's always been this safe space for me. And as a young child, I was very shy, and I didn't necessarily like speak my truth to other people, but I'd speak it to my journal. And I think that has been the kind of golden thread through my journaling years, is that this is where my safe space, where I can lay it all bare. For a while, it would be like through, poetry that I would write. And I kind of over the years made this pact, even though I kind of went against it the other day, but that I don't go back and read them, because there's a part of me that doesn't want my 7-year-old self to feel like shame. There's a part of me that doesn't want like my 20-year-old self who felt like, the world was ending because the love of my life broke up with me. Like to have someone be voyeuristic and look back and be like, oh, what was she thinking? And of course, I'm through that lens of loving kindness towards myself, but like I do give myself, my younger self, that space. Because for me, it's in the moment of processing, and like looking back doesn't necessarily give me like what I need.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know a lot of people who keep their journals with the intention of being able to go back and see who they were at that phase of life and what they were doing. And I think it depends on your purpose for your notebook. Some people keep their notebooks and their journals more as what's called a commonplace book. So it is just capturing what life is like, where my notebooks, and it sounds like yours, they're expressive and emotional. So, yes, it's what life is like, but it's also when I'm feeling. And typically, if I'm coming to my notebook to tell my notebook, the one place that doesn't judge, it's not good.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't want to remember it,
Yeah.
let alone look back at it later. So I completely understand that. I wish, though, that I did save my notebooks from the very beginning, because there's something different about peeking in at 7-year-old Stephanie,
Yeah.
7-year-old Rebecca, than there is like 34-year-old Stephanie.
Yeah.
I would have loved that. So that is so special. And I know that listeners are like, either me too, or oh my gosh, I wish. So
Yes.
special. And I'm sending like some energetic revenge to your brother, because that would have broken my heart too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's the same
Well, he
brother
was
that
great. He was young.
yeah,
Yeah.
he beheaded all of my dolls. Like there was, but to give him a little he was the older brother, and then 2 years later, he had twins born. We got a lot of attention. I was the only girl. So I'm like, I get why, like, you know,
Yes.
9-year-old older brother had to, like, take a little bit of out
Yes.
of his 7-year-old sisters. I get
Uh,
it.
it is actually the same dynamic in my home. My son was two, and then boy girl twins came along. So I can understand that. I can understand that.
Yes.
So, always been a lifelong journaler. You use that notebook to just show up and get it out and whatever you need to do on the page. How does doing that in light of your cyclical focus, how do those two marry together? Do you journal in different ways, in different seasons, in different cycles? I would love for you to tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I lean into journaling with cyclical living, with my cyclical nature, is I lean into um, journaling with my monthly cycle. So I kind of at least one day of each week. So I journal several times throughout the week, but at least one day, kind of as I shift through the 4 different phases of my menstrual cycle. So I'll lean into kind of the hormonal strengths. I like to call them superpowers, hormonal superpowers that are present. And I journal with that. And kind of the way that I look at this, I also journal with the lunar cycle too. So I think the lunar cycle can have a really powerful, these it gives us these moments to just check in, and they can be like really insightful moments, whether you feel the energetic quality of the moon or not. Like, honestly,
Right.
it is what it is. Like, if you feel it, like, great. If you don't, but you just want to lean into this idea of that energy, it's I like to think that it's just this reminder over and over of how to be mindful, to like take a pause, to like check in with yourself. And so if you'd like, I can kind of go through maybe
Oh,
the
I
the
like,
4
yes.
phases. Okay.
Yes, please. My pen, my notebook's
Okay.
ready. Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay. So I'm going to kind of put the menstrual cycle and the lunar cycle simultaneously together as I explain each phase, because I think it's a beautiful way for women who do have who are still cycling to kind of look at their bodies as in relationship to the lunar cycle
Mhm.
externally. It's also kind of your own inner moon, right? They're both 28 days long. It's like a great kind of way to see yourself reflected in nature. So we're going to start with the new moon. So your inner new moon, that is your menstrual cycle. So we all know what that feels like, right? It's that time kind of energetically we're more inward focused. We are feeling the feels. And hormonally it is like it's the lowest, like our hormones are the lowest levels. This is this great time to check in with ourselves. And the theme that I play with here is letting go and calling in. So if you think like literally like you are shedding the old, you're shedding the old and starting your next cycle, right? You're starting anew. The new moon is a great time. It's the darkest night of the month, right? You don't see the moon's light at night. So it's this reminder to turn inward. And so what I like to kind of the prompt that I use is in order to have more space for what I want in life, what am I ready to let go of? Right? It's like, oh, I want to do these habits. I want to like, oh, I'm going to do all the exercise stuff. It's like, well, if you want to create this habit, what do you have to get rid of? Right? There's only so much time in a day. There's only so much energy that you have, so much bandwidth that you have. So getting real with yourself, or like, what is the thing? Is it doom scrolling on social media? Is it, sitting on the couch watching TV well past your bedtime? Like, are these things that you need to really evaluate? And in our menstrual cycle, it is just this, it's a beautiful opportunity to completely go inward. I mean, your energy is probably lower, your mood is a little bit maybe lower, you're not feeling super social. So lean into that, right? Lean into that aspect of like, all right, well, what can I learn about myself now? Right? It's a really potent time. And then we step into, so we think of like the next phase in the lunar cycle is the waxing moon, right? All of a sudden we see a little bit more light in the sky at night. This is, you can think of it when your period ends, and now we're stepping into the follicular phase. So our hormones start to increase. We all of a sudden maybe start to feel we have a little bit more energy. Our mood is maybe a little bit more elevated. So I like to call this is the time to think big, like dream. Like this is dream time. Like think big. Like what do you want to step into? So the prompt that I love is what would it feel amazing to say yes to? Like what
Oh,
would it
that's a
just
good
feel,
one.
right? Like what feels amazing to say yes to? And it could be something like, oh, you know what? Like would feel good is, I'm gonna do that. The I don't know. I'm gonna make more meals at home, or I'm gonna do whatever, like whatever, just dream big and go big. And then I take it a step further because maybe this is just my I don't know, in astrology, I'm a double Capricorn. So this is like, what are three things I can do to move forward towards my dream? Like make it real. Like dream big. It's like, oh, I want to make six figures in my business, or I want to reach the seven-figure mark, whatever it is. It's like, okay, well, what are three things you can do right now?
Yeah.
But that will make your dream feel like it's possible rather than a dream, it's a reality. So that's kind of that phase. And then we reach now the peak of the the lunar cycle is the full moon. Actually, time of this recording, there's a full moon today. But like the full moon, like think of it, it's the peak. It's the like the night is lit up. And for those who cycle, it's your ovulation, right? This is like game on, right? This is your like your energy's high, your libido is high. You're like, so this the theme I play with here is visibility. Like, how do you want to show up? Like, how can you show up in this life? Like, what do you want to like bring forward? And it's really this external aspect of our cycle. So the prompt that I like to lean into is if I could live as my true self, uninhibited, what would I be doing? Like, what would I be doing? Uninhibited. Like, what would my
That's a
life
key
be?
word.
Yes.
Uninhibited. That's key.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going on capital letters on my notebook right now.
Yes. Right? Because like you can say, like, well, but I've got my family and I've got this. But
Yes.
no, like, no, like
Mhm.
throw it all to the wayside. Just you, like your true self. What would it look like? And then you like that is inspiration alone to be like, well, maybe I can sprinkle some of that in, even with the parameters of the life that I'm living.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and I think it's good to remember that cycles bring us back into balance. So for as much as there's external energy, things pulling at us, right? We want to think big, we want to be visible. The shadow side is like losing our sense of self. But thankfully, we have this cyclical nature of ourselves to bring us back into balance. So as we head now from the full moon, we hit to the waning moon phase. So this is when, there's less and less moonlight in the evening.
Mhm.
And this is our luteal phase. This is the weeks leading up to our next cycle. And this is about boundaries. Like what boundaries would support my energy right now? Because if you think about if you're giving and you're giving and you've got these ideas, you're saying yes to all the things, you're like, I'm so visible. There comes a point, and for those of us who cycle, like you feel that energetically, you feel that shift in the hormones, and you're like, I just can't. And this is where I think a lot of knowing this about ourselves can give us more grace, where we're like, oh, my energy is lower and I can't say yes to all these things. Where can I say no? So, what boundaries would support my energy right now? And take it a step further, the prompt, if you really want to kind of go a little more deep into your notebooking, what do I need to think or feel, do, or believe in order to honor those boundaries.
Mm. That is
Right?
another important one right there.
Yes.
Right.
Like what you can say all the things when
Yeah.
my boundaries are on family, I'm going to do this, but it's also like, what's your role in that bound in honoring that boundary and sticking to it? So that's kind of the trajectory that I work with. And like I said, I check in with myself, each week as I shift cyclically to just pause and see like what do I need? And it's a really beautiful practice through notebooking or journaling to check in with yourself.
I have so many things going through my mind right now with that wonderful framework. And I want to make sure that I say it now, even though I know we will likely say it at the end. But if people were driving, if they were walking their dog, if they didn't have their pencil and their notebook, just like I did, and even if they did, I know they're going to want this from you. So can you tell them where they can get it? Because I know they can. And I want to make sure you share that now
Yes.
so they're not panicking.
Totally. Do not panic. Please do keep driving your car. Focus on the road. Um, yes, honestly, just my website, womensmoonwisdom.com. If you head over there, there will be a opt-in for the cyclical living journal that you can download for free. It has all these prompts plus more, all within a PDF. Honestly, the PDF is like 25 pages long. I
It's
went all
awesome.
in on it.
It's
So
awesome. Yeah, it's really, really good.
yeah. So you can just head to my website in the show notes, click there, and you'll find it right away.
Yeah. So one thing I think that notebooking pairs so well with this, and I love notebooking. I notebook almost every morning, but this kind of notebooking where my notebooking changes, and not just changes because my notebooking changes all the time, but this idea of really approaching my notebooking and the cyclical nature again and again and again. This is definitely something that's newer for me, but I love it. And I think the word that keeps coming up every time I do this, and in reality, and in all honesty, I'm only doing it because of you. I didn't know that I could shift my journaling in this sort of way, but when I did, the one word that keeps coming up for me, and I'm curious if maybe it comes up for you or the other women that you work with, is permission. It's just
Mm.
permission to be whatever I happen to be or feel or think or any of the things in that moment. And at the same time, the other thing that brings me great comfort is that it is temporary and it will change, especially when the moments are not feeling that great on the page. I take great comfort in knowing that I can still feel them. And oh, by the way, because of whatever cycle or season is coming, it won't last forever and it's okay. Do you feel that? Do you find the women you work with that grace is an important word, but permission is just the one that I keep coming back to?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's exactly that. For whatever reason, we've given away like we've looked external to ourselves for like validation of like, oh, I guess I should be feeling this way, but I don't. Right? Oh, I should have all the energy, but I don't. Like, what is wrong with me? And
Mhm.
instead, giving yourself permission to be like, nothing. You are great. And this feeling, does not define that this feeling will probably pass and it does not define who you are. So give yourself permission to feel what you need to feel in this moment. And then it is okay to be who you need to be.
Yeah. I also love how, for me at least, the work that I'm doing on the inside, right, with this journaling and thinking through those beautiful sequences of prompts that you provided, I feel like it's making a difference on my outside, right? As I mentioned before, I was chasing the old version. What is this gray hair? What is this eye thing going on? No, no, I got to chase it back. And I feel like as we do the work to give ourselves permission to feel the way we feel on the inside, I just feel like it makes me accept the outside a little bit more and not rail against it and just it is what it is. And that's a good thing, right? That this changing, it just gives me a different perspective for what's going on the outside of my body too. I don't know if you find that as well, but it's really helpful for me.
Yeah. And honestly, just to feel comfortable in your skin, in your body, to understand that, even just to understand your body a little bit better
Yeah.
and how you show up and give yourself permission
Yeah.
to be the age that we are, to have the wisdom accumulated, rather than if we look at back at ourselves in our 30s, 20s, eh, like all the wisdom that we've gained over the years, like that is huge. And yeah, and I think that the more when we do this inner work and we just recognize something as simple as the cyclical nature within ourselves, it is reflected all around us.
Yeah.
And then when we give ourselves permission, we give ourselves grace, honestly, we can just be that version of ourselves in that moment for our loved ones, for our relationship with our work, our relationship with our family. It gives us a little bit more grace to know that, okay, maybe I don't have to feel like so obsessed with my to-do list.
Yeah.
Like these things that are like show up, you can give yourself a little bit more grace around.
Yeah. I've just put together something that I didn't quite put together before, but as you're talking, it just made perfect sense. We said that we don't look back in our notebooks, right? And we had particular reasons for not doing that. And as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm thinking, why do I choose to look back and stay stuck in not just my notebook, but in other phases of my life? It was just another aha moment live of Stephanie. You don't like to look back at your notebooks for that reason. Why do you do that to your real self? Oh, that was good, Rebecca. Thank you.
Oh, I just got chills. Oh, that was good. I just got chills. That was good.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
work just correlates and connects so beautifully together. Our notebooks, like you said, they just allow us to show up. And if we
Mhm.
think of them as these tools to help us move in the ebb and then the flow to feel good on the inside and accept the outside and just be, I really can't think of a greater gift that our notebook can provide. It really just broadens the power of that tool. And I'm so thankful that you are using that tool as a way to share this really important, beautiful, feel good kind of message with everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And it really is just that giving ourselves space to connect with ourselves
Yeah.
over and over again. Yeah.
Over and over again. That's it. That's it right there. So that's a perfect segue for me to ask you about the work that you do. Where can listeners get more of this kind of conversation over and over and over again? We've already shared where they can get your amazing downloadable PDF with these journal prompts, but tell us more about your work, your classes, your coaching, your retreats. You've got a good one planned. Tell us all the things.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that. So I do women's women's coaching, women's wellness coaching, and you can find that on the website, just womensmoonwisdom.com, and there'll be links to that. And I've been working on this for a very long time, but it's now launched a cyclical living self-care app. And this app is a beautiful accumulation, a curated yoga breath work, meditations, more journal prompts, even recipes that you can use in alignment with your cyclical nature. You can even just use it as you feel. Um, you can even use it with in alignment with the current lunar phases. And it's once again just a kind of a one-stop shop to check in with yourself, right? If you're feeling a certain feeling, lean into a certain type of breath work or a meditation or a movement practice that's going to nurture you in how you are feeling in that moment. So that's a beautiful place for people to even just start. The app itself, you can try it. Um, I'm going to give Stephanie a code that you can try the first month for free.
Oh, wow.
And
Thank you.
yeah, and in that we do women's monthly women's circles too, which are just nice to check in. I do a lot of women's circles in person locally, but I also wanted there to be a space on virtually too to connect with women kind of from all over. So that's one space that I work in. And then yeah, I offer kind of two retreats a year, one more local, domestic here in the United States, then one international. The one local, it's a women's retreat over just a weekend long retreat here in northern Michigan, and it's beautiful. It's called Empower Camp, and it's a glamping retreat, and it's such a beautiful from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, and it's just a beautiful time to connect with other like-hearted women to, work a little bit, do of inner work, but also feel like the sense of community. And then the international retreat, what I have coming up is we're going to Iceland. Iceland has been on my list forever. And I'm so excited to bring a group of women. We'll travel to Iceland, and in the morning, we'll practice meditation, yoga, journaling, and then each afternoon is different adventures where we will go hiking, horseback riding, whale watching, northern lights, and it's going to be such a beautiful, beautiful retreat that's happening. That's the fall of 2025. So I'll be sure to have that in the show notes for everyone to look into there as well. And of course, like, my podcast, the Women's Moon Wisdom podcast, is a great place to just hear free content and, learn a little bit more about this. And, the group coaching programs happen once or twice a year. So that's something to, if you get on the email list, you'll be in the know when the next one is launching. And then I also, one last thing is women in wellness. I help women with tech support, building the digital aspect of their business so that I know that there's so many women in the wellness space, coaches and whatnot, who would love to get a vision come through, but the tech is the biggest hurdle. Tech is the thing that stands in their way, and they just end up not bringing forward their vision to life. And for me, as I told you my story of creating my little library on my dad's super old computer, like tech has been something that I find, quite easeful. And I think I just feel so called to share that gift with others and help women kind of bring their visions to life in their wellness business. So I set up websites and courses and all the behind the scenes stuff.
I love that. You just, in everything that you do, you are helping women grow into whatever version they want to be. And so that just seems like a perfect fit. I think it's also a really good example. Like you listed a lot of things, Rebecca, that you are doing, and you're doing it in a way that still allows you to let go of some things and embrace others and rest at sometimes and not the other. So I think it was a perfect manifesto of this lifestyle works. Look at what's
Yes,
happening. So,
absolutely.
oh, so wonderful. I am saying on the podcast publicly so that the universe hears me. I'm getting to Northern Michigan. I have wanted to visit there because there are so many books that I have loved that have been set in Northern Michigan, and to go there with you, I'm putting it out there. It's on my bucket list. You are
Yes,
on my
please.
bucket list.
Yes, please.
But I will be sure to put the link for the journaling resource as well as links to all of these things, that wonderful gift that you have given for your app. I'll be sure to put them in the show notes so that everyone can get to them quite easily. I don't think thank you is a big enough word. This, from the opening meditation to the conversation to knowing what is ahead for people who want to connect with you, this was just a beautiful conversation. And I'm so grateful for how you're helping me rethink and expand my own journaling practice and in mic drop aha moments, life in general too, because they're so connected. So thank you. Truly, Rebecca, thank you so much for a wonderful conversation.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me and for allowing me to just share this with your community.
Our honor. And everyone for listening, thank you for listening to another episode of the Get Literate podcast, and I will see you inside the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. Learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing, if you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow, and it builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.